I'm Shehzeen. I am from here. I grew up here, and I'm an entrepreneur in the coffee and tech space. I started my entrepreneurial journey, I think, about 5 to 7 years ago, and honestly, I haven't gone back since. I studied finance and actuarial math, so I was going towards a very traditional route, which today, if you ask me, I'm really happy that I didn't, and not because of my own choice. I feel I always wanted to, land that job in finance and go steady and slow. But life had different plans, and something that really worked for me was I never said no. So over time in my career, I've done internships in any industry that you could imagine. So I've done internships in marketing and PR, logistics, operations. I've done jobs in there. I've actually experienced all of these areas, which at that point I thought, where does it really benefit me? Because I'm starting from scratch again and again. But today I see that, and today I think that's one of the biggest strengths I have as an entrepreneur, is that I can see from every area what's working and what should work. And I'm able to hire people that are actually specialists in those areas that would help the business that I'm at that time working on. So I think the biggest thing that helped me was that I never said no to any opportunity that came towards me at the very start of my career. And that really helped me to get to where I am today, because I built a network, I built friends along the way, I learned, and I was always humble enough to learn. I was never better than anyone else in the room, because what I feel is very important is that you learn from everyone around you, no matter what. And it is on you to understand what you want to learn from them. They may be a doctor, or they may be a gymnast, someone else, right? And they would tell you some life lessons that they may have, or they may share a story. It may not be directly relevant to you, but what would be your strength is if you actually pick up what is relevant and then use it and apply it to yourself. And I think I had that knack for doing it. So I was able to take that from someone else and understand and apply it to my own situation. That really helped me get to where I was. One more thing that really helped me was I was consistent. At the start, when you're starting your business, it's not yet $1 million, billion-dollar company. It is nothing. It's you in a bedroom or garage or wherever, in a coffee shop. You are sat there and you have a laptop with maybe a Shopify website, not sure. And you feel like, when will I get to the place where I'm proud of this? So the key to getting there is consistency. You get there every day if you show up. So every day in the morning, no matter how tough it was, or because even with entrepreneurship, you don't have someone at the back of your head at the very start saying, hey, what's happening with this? Where is this report? Where is that report? So what I did was I showed up no matter what. 9 a.m. I would be at my table, have my cup of coffee, and I would just work on it. And I would continuously do that every day. So in the short term, I wouldn't see the results right away. But today I look back, and Sippy Beans, for example, within a year, I was surprised with how far we had come. And there were these little small steps. They were very small steps, but it worked. So I think, constantly showing up was definitely part of helping me get to where I am today. Something that really woke me up in the morning every day and got me going was the fact that first, obviously, there was that fear of that opportunity cost, right? The day that you don't work or you don't do something for your business is an opportunity lost. You lose a customer, or you don't gain an extra customer, or you miss out on a campaign that you could have run today as opposed to tomorrow. So these things really helped. I gave myself no excuses. I did not allow myself to have an excuse. And again, it's about maybe your productivity levels vary, right? So today I may bang it out and there'll be a lot that I've done, but tomorrow maybe it's just an Excel sheet that I refined a little bit. That's it. Doesn't matter. The fact that you did something, you're not allowed to give yourself an excuse, at least at the very early stages. And it was not all fancy and glamorous and spreadsheets. It was actually tougher in the sense that for the very start, and I'll take Sippy as an example, I went and I made deliveries myself. I picked up coffee beans from roasters myself. At that point, I was like, wait a second, I'm sitting here, I've got a degree in this and this, and why am I going and doing these? But it taught me so much, and I knew the business that way. So it was tough, don't get me wrong, right? There were days where I was sat there, you know, Dubai heat, it really gets to you, and I was sat in my car going and picking up coffee beans, and I thought to myself, why am I doing this? But what got me back was I didn't let myself go into that little hole and think why. No, I had to do it. I had to show up, right? Today is like this, tomorrow may be better. So I just had to show up. So I think my biggest thing was I showed up, and then, you know, you have to always have some faith as well that you will go to a direction that would be great for you. You can't just, it's not all you. There are external things that come into play. For instance, people, your support system is very valuable as well. And I have to give credit to them. You know, I have a very, very supportive husband that was always there rooting me on. You know, he gave me my space. He said, all right, you know what, you do your thing. We have the time to do it. Let's, and it was COVID as well at that time. So the reason that I co-founded Sippy Beans was the fact that I really had something inside me that was saying, you know, we need to start working towards sustainability. We need to start working towards really taking care of the economy as a whole, as opposed to just, you know, as a commodity. So that really drove me, and that's why our mission was to give specialty coffee a voice, and over your big behemoths, your commercial giants. So what we did was, it's a very interesting statistic. There's, in the coffee area specifically, you have at the farming level about 60 to 70% of all the workers being female. And as you go up the value chain, at the very end, that statistic changes to 70 to 80% of men in that area. So I didn't understand why that was the case. I needed to really wrap my head around it, and it's the lack of training. It's the lack of self-belief in women. They feel like they have a space that they need to, you know, sit at and just be. They don't strive for harder, because I think one thing that women really have, and this is sort of, I think this is a strength that we don't take advantage of as much as we should, is that we have a lot of emotional awareness and emotional intelligence. And this is something that we can use to our advantage to such a great degree. But what we do is we understand the other person's, what they need and what they require, and how to make them feel better. And so what we do is we take the back seat. We let them do their thing. So I feel like we need to stop doing that. Instead, use it to our advantage and say, okay, great. So for instance, something that I did, especially with my team, was we were very early startup. So I hired a lot of, you know, fresh grads and people with minimal experience in this area. So what I did was, they came in with aspirations. Great. I want to be a, you know, someone in marketing, or I want to be someone in design. What I did was I kind of understood from my own perspective what their strengths were, and I gave them the creative freedom and the exposure to kind of use that and grow and actually get to their full potential. And I think this is very important. We need to understand how to unlock people's full potential, whether that's at home, whether that's with your family, whether that's at work with your team. It doesn't have to be on a leadership role only. It can be with your colleagues, it can be with your peers. This is something that women can do very, very well. And we really need to use this. We need to not take a back burner. There are times where in my career I was in an environment that wasn't, it was tough. There was a lot of stress. There was a lot of pressure. It wasn't the most nurturing. It was a bit toxic. But what did I do? I mean, yes, there is stress. I ignored it. You know, people are going to think because I'm a woman, I'm weak and I left and da-da-da. You can't let that happen, right? I thought I ignored the stress. I let the stress go around. It's fine. It's just stress. Back shoulder pain. That's okay. It's just stress, whatever. But then, you know what happened? My body started reacting to it as opposed to just my mind. My gut specifically reacted to it. I started getting, I had started developing problems. I went to the doctor and I realized that I've become intolerant to gluten, lactose, onion, garlic. Basically, I couldn't have pizza. And that for me is, so I kept ignoring it, but my gut didn't. And because I wasn't listening to my gut. And again, in addition to your emotional intelligence, you also have this thing called your gut feeling, your sixth sense, your instinct. This is not something that's made up. This is actually something that is a scientific thing that your brain processes some information a lot faster than your conscious mind understands it. So once you walk into a room, you think, oh, okay, I'm not getting a good vibe over here. I'm getting a great vibe over here. This isn't just a vibe. This is something that your brain has actually subconsciously understood, and it's giving you that signals. And if you keep ignoring it, you won't be allowed to have pizza. But if you keep ignoring it, it's gonna affect you. So again, we women have that. We have that ability to assess and understand our environment and understand people at a very high degree. So I think we need to really use that. When it comes to yourself, you're like, no, I'll think of myself later. Let everyone get to sleep and let everyone have their thing. I don't want anyone to react differently. I'll take care of myself later. I'll take care of myself when it's the weekend. It doesn't work that way. Sadly, as much as that is very selfless, it is not, because in the long run, you will not be beneficial to absolutely anyone. You'll be burnt out. You will be down. You won't be able to produce anything, and you're gonna cause this aura of negativity and down, and no one wants that. You need positivity. Energy is actually really important. I'd like to touch upon that a bit. Recently, I read this thing about, so there's this experiment done with 2 rooms, and they had plants in both rooms, exactly the same variables, all constant. The only difference was, in one room, the person would go and they would, talk about, they would be positive and say nice things and bring this great energy. And in the other room, what they would do is, they'd just be, they'd be shouting, they'd be yelling, they'd just be negative and all these things. A couple of days or months later, I realized, again, the same plant, same sunlight, same everything. The one with the negativity was dying, and the one with the positivity was flourishing. So if this can happen for plants, just have an idea of how it would impact a person. And you are that person. Like, you need to understand that you are susceptible to these things. Yes, people say negative things, and you think, okay, let me forget it. Let me ignore it. No, it affects you. Sadly, affects you. So you need to actually get out of that room. You need to, build a wall that says, okay, you need to, compensate for it or turn that around. You can't just say, okay, great, let me keep hearing this, ignore it. No, it affects you. That's something I definitely learned. I did ignore it, and then it came back at me, and now I don't ignore it. My view may be a bit opposing to that. I actually think that you may need the world to acknowledge you. You may need to prove people wrong, but that drains a lot of your energy. And I think we have come to a point where, thankfully, there are enough people around you that would support you, that do acknowledge you, that you don't need to drain your efforts on people that won't, because that will never change. If they haven't changed till today, and in this day and age with with how exposed everyone is, then they're not going to change. So I think use the strengths that you have, and use it to grow yourself. Why are you wasting that energy on proving someone wrong when instead you can use that energy to create what else is new? So I went through that as well, right? Today I had 2 options, right? I could now again go on to the route of, okay, so this person thinks I can't do this. This person thinks I can't do this. Let me do it to let me prove him wrong, let me prove her wrong. But no, I thought, okay, what do I want to do next? How do I want to live my life? How do I want to live my life? And what do I want to do next? What's good for me? What's good for what I believe in? And that's where the next business that I'm working on is directed towards. It's more about me. It's at the end of the day, it's not about them. And I don't think we should waste our energy on them anymore. Not today, not anymore. Something that's really close to my heart is sustainable development. And this can come in different ways, right? You have some companies, depending on what company you are starting or you're in, you use renewable energy, you make sure it's a circular economy. But something that is personal to me, I think, is sustainable economic growth. And this has to be balanced with your, practicing sustainable practices and so on. So what I feel is some people, they deter away from starting their businesses because they think, okay, wait a second, how do I make it into a multi-billion-dollar company and how do I get there? I don't think that's what you need to concentrate on. What I personally feel that most people need to look at is the bottom line. Your bottom line needs to start being healthy. And it doesn't have to be a business with 10 investors and the board meetings every quarter and all. What it can be is something that you can sustain off of. We need to build businesses that are good for our generations to come. And this is where economic growth, sustainable economic growth comes in. So you build healthy businesses, cash cows, or something that I love, and I don't know if you've heard of, but camels versus unicorns. We've all heard of unicorns, but what I'd like to concentrate on is building a camel that is self-sustainable. It provides jobs for the long term. They're not as high risk, and at the bottom line, it's healthy. So you have a cash flow, you have something you can live off of, and it doesn't have to be a behemoth just now. It's definitely, again, it's about preference. If you can do your multi-billion, great, fantastic, do it, and all props to you. But you don't have to. You can also go in and create a healthy business that is good for your family. And it grows slowly, steadily, and is good for your kids, it's good for the generations to come. So I think that is something that I really want people to concentrate on. If you want to start a business, it can be something that is for you as well. Fitness kind of comes back to way you work your career or how you start your business. I feel like, again, you need to have it scheduled in. Your calendar has to be blocked at that time. And for me personally, the day gets really busy. So the way I work it is first thing in the morning. I'm not allowed to have breakfast before it. I'm not allowed to shower before it. So if I want those things, I have to go and work out. And again, it's about showing up. You show up, you're there, whether you do a 5K run or whether you just sit there and do a couple of sit-ups or squats, that's fine. But you show up and you block that calendar time out. And that's how you see differences as well. And one thing that I've noticed is when you do take it out, there's a very big lack of serotonin in your body and you don't feel that. So there was a point in time where I wasn't as active and my coffee consumption went up because I needed that burst of energy. I needed that kickstart. And I had to get it from my coffee, which obviously, I'm a big proponent for coffee, but you need to drink responsibly. So I think working out in the morning, that's my first espresso shot. Then comes my actual espresso shot. And then in the afternoon, I'll have a nice little filter V60 to keep me going. But again, I think, first thing in the morning or whenever that time suits for you based on your schedule, but that part is blocked out and it has to happen no matter what. The way I would encourage someone to actually get into it is self-discovery as well, self-awareness. You don't have to go and run or do some strength training, or it could be anything. What do you enjoy? What do you enjoy? If you enjoy dancing, go do that. If you enjoy, walking, that's actually very beneficial as well. So I think it's more about understand what you like to do. Maybe you don't like going to the gym in front of people. Maybe you like to do it in your own house. Do that. So again, show up, and do what you like, and then you'll just evolve from there and you'll grow. Do what's comfortable. Honestly, when I was getting back into it, there were times where I would go and I would just walk on the treadmill and I'd have a podcast or I'd have Netflix on there because I did not want to be there at that point. But I thought, okay, do you know what? What would I be doing otherwise? I'd be on my couch. So let me just do this and let me just keep going. So I think the best way is you find what you like, and whatever that starting point is, be easy on yourself. You don't have to go hard the very first day. Be easier on yourself and just start and just show up. I'd love for you guys to join me at Dubai Women's Run happening this November at Dubai Festival City. Join me for a 3K, 5K, or a 10K. That's where I'll be at. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys at the start line.